The movie opens up with a woman named Jamie who is on a date with a guy named Adam during their romantic dinner. Jamie expresses her wish to become a professional kickboxer. She wants to beat up people for a living after the date comes to an end. The two kiss each other before parting ways. Upon returning home, Jamie unwinds in a bathtub while conversing with her friend on the phone as she is distracted. An individual wearing a mask infiltrates her house and kidnaps her. She just wasted a perfectly good opportunity to beat someone up in the next scene. Jimmy regains her consciousness and finds herself locked up in an unfamiliar vacant room with only a CCTV camera attached on the ceiling. Filled with fear, she taps on the door, appealing for assistance. The door opens, revealing a dim hallway ahead. She nervously walks forward and soon comes across another woman named Sabrina, who is dressed just like Jamie, unable to trust her. Jamie forbids her from coming closer to her, but Sabrina claims that she is also a victim following this. As the two are exploring the area, the door closes from behind. Try wrapping them within a circular room. Suddenly, Sabrina says, "I'm sorry," and launches an attack on Jamie. The latter has no clue what's going on, but nonetheless, she fights back, instigating an intense fight between the two in the midst of the commotion. Jimmy asks for the reason why she is doing this, to which Sabrina replies, "Ideal." Eventually, Sabrina pins Jaime down and strikes her with multiple fatal blows, resulting in her death in anguish. She cries out, asking how many more lives she has to take. Jaime would have made a terrible kickboxer. The scene then cuts to a couple, Joseph and Elizabeth, who are revealed to be behind all of this. They have kidnapped several women and are orchestrating deadly battles among them. They record all the fights in the fighting chamber, broadcasting it live in front of their rich clients. It appears that they do it for monetary gain by a wealthy folk in exchange for their entertainment back in the confinement. Sabrina is woken up by the distressed cries of other women shortly after Joseph announces the results of previous matches and also chooses the next contenders. It turns out that the fighter's family will live as long as the fighters survive the fights. The game resumes, and we see two other women, Dee and Phoebe, making their way to the same circular arena for the fight. As they head there, Dee reveals that they've threatened to harm her little sister, to which Phoebe responds that her mother's life is on the line. Soon the battle begins, and Phoebe immediately gains the upper hand. She launches a brutal attack on Dee, resulting in her quick death. Meanwhile, her fellow inmate from another cell named Cody attempts to strike up a conversation with Sabrina. She introduces herself and reveals that when she was a kid, she witnessed her father's abuse towards her mother. This has left her traumatized until today. A short while later, the facility's guard leader, Kurtz, enters Sabrina's cell to provide her with some food. He congratulates her for her recent victory, due to which her daughter will get to live one more day in response. Sabrina claims that she doesn't have a daughter, and she doesn't care what they do with that little girl. Unfortunately, this angers Kurtz, so he pushes her against the wall and points a gun to her head. He warns her to mind her language, or else she won't get any special favors from now on. Afterwards, 6 of the incarcerated women, including Sabrina and Phoebe, are escorted out of their cells and into a room where they are bound to cherish. As the guards leave, Phoebe starts to talk, claiming that she enjoys fighting and wondering how many more she would kill, unlike her. All the other women desperately want to get out of this hell. Their conversations are soon interrupted by Joseph and Elizabeth. Joseph informs them that they brought 50 women to the facility, and only 22 are left now. Elizabeth then walks closer to Sabrina and praises her fighting prowess, while Phoebe garners favor from Joseph. According to the couple, the final winner will be chosen in 3 days, and that very champion will be released from the facility. After the session, the women are led back to their cells, during which Phoebe taught Sabrina. This provocation leads Sabrina to lose her temper and launch a headbutt at Phoebe. However, the guards soon separate them, preventing any further brawls. Later on, another inmate by the name of Teresa asks Sabrina if she was in the military. When the latter replies with a yes, she proposes that they escape the facility. Their other ally, Cody, also agrees, saying that all they have to do is kill the guards. However, Sabrina asserts that it's not that easy, because they, as well as their family members, are under close observation. Their tiny mistake could risk the lives of their loved ones. Overcome with emotion, Sabrina begins to cry as she reveals that she gave up her child for adoption, but now she is constantly being monitored. In the following scene, Cody is assigned to fight an inmate named Marissa. The rest of the women watch the fight from a small television screen in their cell. Cody somehow manages to defeat her opponent by using a choking technique. After this, Sabrina is forced to fight consecutive death matches with 2 women named Gloria and Alex, but she manages to win both of them regardless. She is so exhausted that she passes out on the ground shortly after some guards walk into the fight room and carry her away. Meanwhile, All of these live matches are being streamed to the rich folks via a large television screen. Teresa is taken away for the next fight, and her opponent is Rachel, as the fight begins. Both of them start punching each other, but Teresa eventually manages to take her down, feeling defeated. Rachel, in a crying voice, asks Teresa to relay the message to her husband that she loves him a lot. Teresa nods her head and then "Judge, oh God," and then chokes Rachel to death for the next fight. Two women, Anne and Brenda, are ordered to walk out of their cell and cooperates, but Brenda has a nervous breakdown and refuses to fight when the guards are unable to send them. Kurtz informs Elizabeth, who then walks into the facility in order to deal with the situation upon approaching Brenda. She reminds her that the only way she can save her mother is by cooperating and agreeing to the fight. Furious, Brenda strikes Elizabeth with a headbutt, causing her to bleed from her nose. This enrages Elizabeth, and believing that Brenda is not salvageable, she shoots her down. She then comments on the need to find a replacement, as if this were routine. On the other hand, Sabrina wakes up and finds herself restrained on the table. She somehow manages to free herself, but before she can head to another table full of knives, she is apprehended by a guard returning to herself. Sabrina tries to call out to her allies Teresa and Cody, but receives no response. Unfortunately, she soon learns that the two are pitted against one another, fight in the fight chamber. Both Cody and Teresa are unwilling to fight each other. Teresa wonders what will happen if they simply refuse to fight in response. Cody explains that such defiance would result in the deaths of both of them, as well as their loved ones. Teresa then asks about Cody's mother, but she reluctantly punches her instead of answering. Despite this, Teresa doesn't retaliate, and instead proceeds to tell her about her husband, who is sick and is in the intensive care unit. She says that it will probably be a blessing if he dies, knowing how badly Cody needs her. Mother Teresa chooses to allow her to win the fight. They feign a fight, during which Teresa puts Cody's hand to her neck, instructing her to squeeze it harder. She then deliberately falls to the floor, allowing Cody to strangle her to death as the fight ends. Cody gets off Teresa's body and breaks into tears. Unfortunately, she doesn't get much rest, as Phoebe is immediately ushered into the fight chamber to confront her en route. Phoebe taunts Sabrina, saying that she's going to kill her alliance. Sabrina warns her to stay away from Cody, but Phoebe dismisses her and continues on her way, whistling upon entering the fight chamber. Phoebe continues her mockery, making provoking remarks about her father's assault, triggering Cody's trauma. This angers Cody, who then starts the fight, beginning with a punch. However, Phoebe is easily able to gain the upper hand and beat her up brutally. At last, she finishes Cody off by mercilessly banging her head against the wall. In the aftermath of this incident, Phoebe asserts her desire to face off against Sabrina back in herself. Sabrina also expresses her wish to confront Phoebe and approaches Kurtz to request permission to do so. In response, Kurtz arrogantly says that she can fight as much as she wants, because they are going to kill her daughter anyway. Following this, he returns to the control room and unlocks Sabrina's cell door, after which she runs towards the fighting chamber where Phoebe is waiting for her. She immediately launches an aggressive assault on Phoebe, channeling her anger into the confrontation. Sabrina delivers some powerful blows, knocking Phoebe to the floor, but the latter continues to laugh. This only fuels Sabrina's fury, leading her to unleash even more powerful punches and kicks, ultimately executing her. After this, Phoebe's body is taken away, but Sabrina is ordered to stay in the fighting chamber because she still has to fight one more opponent, who is a new replacement named Isabel Thomas, according to Joseph. It is the first time that the final fight will be taking place against a newcomer. He goes on to say that Isabella is a former collegiate athlete who earned a full scholarship. She operates a gym that she owns with her husband, and also trains in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Joseph announces that the survivor of this fight will be declared the ultimate champion not long after. As Isabel walks into the fight chamber, Sabrina asks if she knows why she was brought here. Isabel replies with a no, prompting Sabrina to explain the stakes. Refusal or defeat would lead to the death of their loved ones, as expected. Isabel doesn't believe any of it, so Sabrina initiates the fight with a punch in retaliation. Isabel tosses her to the ground and manages to overpower her with her fighting skill. At one point, Isabel has her hand around the neck. Sabrina, who then asks her to do it. Isabel then proceeds to twist Sabrina's neck, causing her to collapse to the ground. The fight ends and Isabel is declared as the victor. The guards carry Sabrina's body and take it to the morgue. A short while later, Joseph and Elizabeth walk into the facility to meet their winner. Before that, they thank Kurtz for his service and extend an invitation for him to join a celebration just outside the facility with all the rich within the morgue chamber. As a staff member is about to attend to Sabrina's body, she unexpectedly wakes up and stabs him with a knife. Here it is revealed that Sabrina had staged her death, and she is now determined to escape the facility. Moments later, Another staff member enters the morgue room, and Sabrina slices his throat as well. She then cautiously walks out of the room and starts killing the guards one after another. She eventually breaks into the room where Joseph and Elizabeth are addressing Isabel without wasting time. Sabrina attacks the couple and then tries to free Isabel. Amidst the commotion, Elizabeth grabs a rod and strikes Isabel, resulting in her demise in retaliation. Sabrina fights Elizabeth and kicks her out through the window, causing her to fall to death. Shocked, Joseph immediately holds Sabrina by her neck in an attempt to choke her to death. However, she somehow manages to grab a sharp wooden stick from the floor and stabs it through his neck, killing him. He always did get wood watching these fights. Meanwhile, Kurtz is at the party when he detects an unsettling situation. This prompts him to head back to the facility, only to encounter Sabrina on the elevator door before he can pull out his gun. Sabrina strikes him up with a weapon and finishes him off with a knife. Following this, she walks out to the party hall, leaving the affluent attendees stunned. She proceeds towards the main gate and finally steps out into the sunlight. From there, she runs across a wooden bridge towards her freedom. Unfortunately, her escape is halted when she is shot from behind by a guard who turns out to be none other than Adam. The same guy from the first scene. I knew the guy named Adam would be a dick. He is revealed to be a recruiter who finds the women and brings them to the facility. The movie ends with Sabrina having a final vision of her daughter before succumbing to her wounds. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.